the Bitcoin 50,000 live stream. Hello,
Why would
George.
Why would you call that an emergency and not a party?
It's an emergency party. How about that?
I agree. That's what I wanted to hear. It's a party.
It's a party, and you're all invited. But while we're at the party, if you would be so kind as to smash the like button. Let's get the stream going. We got 29 likes. We got to get to 500. Let's get people in here.
I had to figure out where this was. Is this live? Or is this like 3 years old and we're just redoing this again?
Ha! Yeah, no. Well, we're going to look at that exact date. That's right. It's been a long time. So, we're back.
There we go. Now I got everything right.
Another gigantic green day.
It looks like I can discard my possible 32K dip.
Are you?
What was it? 40, 30, what was it? To take care of the shorts, you got to go up, right?
To liquidate the shorts, you got to go up.
And everybody says it has to get to 51.4 to do that?
Well, we're getting there. We're getting very close. Thank you guys for smashing the like button. I saw a lot of you smash the like. Hello to the many members on our stream. First of all, welcome to a new member, Samuel. Thank you for joining the Talkin Investing Squad. Samuel, there is a bunch of members-only deep dive videos in there, and there's about 7 or 8 now Bitcoin miner deep dive videos in there as well. So if you're interested in some of the mid-size or the small size, those are all in the members only area. We do have a member section. It's $5 a month. You can hit the join button on YouTube if you're interested. If not, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. And if everybody could smash the like button, we gotta get the word out. Bitcoin's at $50,000.
So Aaron, I'm going to read your thing. It says, I sold all my Cleanspark on Friday for a great profit. Now I regret it. You can never be upset, Tom taught me this, for taking profits. You know that? Never, ever, ever. Never, 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 never.
No, nobody, other than obviously pure luck, nobody's going to hit the bottom. Nobody's going to hit the top. So, if that was your plan and you took profits, that's money. So you made money, and we can all, this could be investing can either be a lifetime of regrets or you take your wins. And
I can tell you a good story real quick. Can I tell it, Tom? It'll be real quick.
Absolutely.
Somebody on Saturday, we did a little, if you're members, we did a little get together, Crypto Fever, Satoshi, Riot Fighter, Calvin, Alex was there. I mean, there's a whole bunch of people there. If I missed your name, sorry, it wasn't intentional. Mark, I think, was there. And they go, oh yeah, we put a sell order in for $15 on Cleanspark. And so, this was when it was $13.80, $13.90. And then who would know first thing this morning it would be gone, right? But they took their profit. They took it off the table and they went home. That's okay. It's just remember, it was a turkey day for me, if you know what that means. Let's see if anybody knows what a turkey day means. 3 days in a row. So, sorry, go on.
Well, I mean, last Tuesday's live members only live stream, we talked about the fact that Cleanspark, and this is before they reported earnings and before they started running, we said this Cleanspark was for me, and I think George, it was for you too. You've been trading Cleanspark. I said it was for 2024. That is my #1 pick for the year. Since then, we are just a few pennies short of being up 100% on Cleanspark since we did that stream Tuesday night. So that's how vicious these moves can be, and when they're to the upside, it's phenomenal. And you know what? If you caught 70% of that, that's a huge win if that was a part of sticking to your plan. And we don't know. Cleanspark could go up another 50% or, maybe 16's the local peak here and we could have to, go sideways or down. So, it just depends on what your strategy is. I know George is really getting into a groove, making almost day trading. And I'm kind of at the other end of the spectrum. I'm very much a buy and hold. I'm waiting for the peak, although I am doing a little more. I'm not messing with my regular positions, but I'm doing a little more swing trading or attempted swing trading to try and capitalize on some of this massive volatility, because that's the thing about these stocks. I do believe these are both long-term buy and holds, and that doesn't mean forever. I've talked about my exit strategy, and everybody should have an exit strategy, but I'm waiting for what should be the peak of the market, and I'll average out as we approach that if things work out the way I plan, and you never know. But in the meantime, I mean, these are some of the greatest swing trading stocks ever. And lately, I mean, this is the third day in a row the majority of Bitcoin miners had double-digit moves. I mean, you just don't get that. There's not very many places you can find this kind of action on stocks. So, I mean, forget options. If you're trading the options on these things, on a day where a stock's up 15, 20, 25, we had a day last week where CleanSpark was up 32%. I mean, you get options up 2, 3, 4, 500%, depending on, where you picked them when those kind of moves happen. So hopefully you guys are making money one way or the other. To George's point, if you took profits, congratulations. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that if that's your plan. I actually bought in to the market today in an effort, and I'll show you why I think we're set up for the next move to be up. I could be wrong, so I'll stop loss myself out if things don't play out the way they are. But again, I am going to try and trade a little more of this volatility in addition to just buying and holding. But I do believe we just had a breakout. I talked about it. If you guys saw my video, I talked about it in my video over the weekend. If you didn't, you can check that out. And we've talked about it on the stream. There have been a few clear breakouts lately, and we just had another one today. So over the weekend, I was looking for a certain setup. It happened today. So I went long some extra stuff, and we'll see how it works out. Right? Nothing, who knows? But that's how trading goes. We gotta win more than we lose. That's the bottom line.
We need to talk about HUT too, by the way. Tom and I both picked up on the exact same thing. Let's see if anybody else. What was missing?
So I actually have to update there. I did find that in the report,
you did?
George. Yes.
Oh, okay.
So
was it still the same amount?
No, it was not.
Really?
It wasn't dramatic. We'll get to that. You want me to say it now, or we'll talk about that later?
I mean, we do a teaser.
Well, we got a lot to talk about.
Yeah, when we're into it, we might as well.
HUT sold a portion of their HODL position in the month of January. So
they're the ones that had messed up the numbers.
They did not sell a lot. It was only like 70 or 80.
Oh.
I just found it, for years they held that position. For those of you who don't know, and I know we'll get 3 or 4 people to start to yell at us because they're sick of hearing about HUT. But, listen, we follow 19 Bitcoin miners, and HUT's one of them.
Yep.
For now. And, an awful lot of drastic changes happened at HUT, including, but not limited to, the fact that their CEO is gone. So, we can all speculate as to whether she was asked to leave or she decided to leave. I have my thoughts. I have no inside information on this, but I think she left. That's my opinion.
You think she walked out the door?
I do. I think that her and she was not only the CEO, she was on the board, and it just seems like, based on the new CEO and, the direction that they said they're heading in, it's just not at all consistent with what Jamie's been talking about for the last several years. So I don't know. That's my suspicion. We could do a poll later. We won't lead with that poll because I know there's some people sick of talking about HUT. There may be some other people excited about HUT. I don't know. So, they have been going up. I will tell you guys, and it's not, None of this is ever financial advice. So, I hope nobody just does what I do or what anybody does. Do your own thing and, take all this with a grain of salt. But I moved out of my hut into, I moved it into some other Bitcoin miners. And the reason was I've been saying for a long time, I was waiting for a specific thing. I was waiting to see what and when and how many Bitcoin machines they were going to buy. So I was waiting for the press release, like almost all the other Bitcoin miners have had. Here's our next purchase of the latest and greatest, the 21s, whether it's the T21s or the S21s or the equivalent. But as far as I can tell, based on what they said, they have no intention of buying any machines. So, and they put out 3 or 4 or 5 press releases. None of them have been regarding machines, and they said they're going to try and repurpose and underclock and do other things to use the machines they have. None of that to me is indicative of a Bitcoin mining company that is looking to focus on the Bitcoin mining portion of their business. They got a lot of other segments of their business. I think they're going to take a run at those other things. I'm not interested in those other things. I am interested in some of the Bitcoin miners if they're setting up secondary streams of revenue, to even the flow out over time through the ups and downs of the Bitcoin mining process. That I understand. Getting some fiat contribution to pay for your overhead makes sense to me, but focusing, moving your focus away from Bitcoin mining, honestly, George, our channel at this point, we're a Bitcoin mining and Bitcoin channel. So, if they're moving away from that, Midway, thank you very much for the super chat. Much appreciated. Midway said, I enjoyed your video today. Thank you, Midway. At the current prices, do you think Iris 693 or Bitfarms is more undervalued, or are they equally undervalued? I think a lot of people, I have a bigger position in Bitfarms than I do in Iris Energy. I just started re-entering back into that position, and it has run like crazy. But even with this big run up, I think there's a lot more room in Iris Energy. So I have a higher level of confidence for a few reasons. I have a higher level of confidence in Bitfarm, in their management, in their operational execution. I think some of that remains to be seen with Iris Energy. I'm not saying they're doing a bad job. In fact, I think they're one of the ones that's doing a good job. I think they're one of the long-term winners in this space. So which one's more undervalued? I would say maybe possibly Iris Energy is more undervalued, but for me personally, I have a higher level of conviction in Bitfarms, so I'm more likely to hold it through thick and thin. Also, the reporting that we get from Bitfarms is a lot more consistent than from Iris Energy. Let's see if they start to change that. And, so I don't think you're going to, for me, I think you're, debating between 2 winners. So that would be my opinion.
Debating between 2 winners, huh?
And they're not all winners. I'll just tell you right now, they're, in my opinion, we're going to look at the list. I think there's going to be, we've been saying all of 2023, I said, I think there will be winners and losers in this space by the time we're done. And I think it's starting to crystallize which ones are which. But, you still need to keep your due diligence up to date. And as George always likes to point out, investing in general and particularly in cryptocurrency, Bitcoin miners, which are even more volatile than Bitcoin. It is a fluid situation. In your words, George, it's a fluid situation.
Fluid.
So we gotta keep our eye on the ball and keep, watching what's happening in real time. And that's why we wanted to jump on today, because I want to go through the 1-day chart.
Well, I think we had to jump on. 50K is a major. It's been a long time. Why don't you show us how long it's been, Tom?
It's been a long road. Let's go to the 1 day and look at that. First, I just want to let everybody know the poll you put up. The next move for Bitcoin, so 50 to 51,000, which is about where we are right now. 52 to 55, so a little move up. Over 55,000, or Are we going to move back down and go kind of back down to 45,000, which was at the top end of the range we were trading in before? So if you haven't voted, it's free to vote. If you haven't smashed the like button, it's free to smash the like button, and it helps the stream out in real time in a big way. I want to give a special thanks to everybody for all the likes this channel has been getting. We have the absolute best, first of all, members. So special thanks to the members and the best subscribers. You guys, it makes a big difference to our channel when you smash the like button, and all you have to do is take a look at our recent videos. It's helped a lot. So I like to take a moment and thank everybody. We do appreciate you guys. We're here to try to do this and build a community, and this is not something this is not our revenue in this world, but we're passionate about it, and it's nice to have a growing community. Also, we are approaching 20,000 subscribers. So any help that you guys can do, spread the word, subscribe if you haven't. All right, enough of all that. Let's look at the one-day chart, because yes, today was a huge breakout. So there's a couple of different things. The first thing is, let's go back in time. I think I have this open. If we go to, that's not where I wanted to go. Come on now. All right, so
why doesn't it show up?
Hold on, let me go to the one.
Just so you know, Money, I clicked show your video, your message. I don't know why it didn't show. I'm gonna cut and paste it, buddy. Why doesn't it show it?
We have to go back to, so Bitcoin crossed, and it's as we speak over 50,000. We got as high as 50,363 today. The last time we were over 50,000, 2023, no, not one day in the whole year 2023. 2022, no, 0 days in 2022. You have to go all the way back to, this is the weekly candle. You have to go back to this week. And I think if I drill down to the day, it was December 28th, 2021 is the last time Bitcoin was over $50,000. So, I mean, that's 2+ full years under 50,000. And we didn't just get under 50,000, as you guys know, and many of you lived it, and some of us unfortunately invested through it. This was your crypto winter scenario. So it was a deep drop down to 15,500, double bottomed at 15,500. In fact, if we look at this 1 week, it was actually almost 1 year, almost to the day. It may have been to the day from the top to the bottom. So this was the week of November 8th. This was the top. We hit exactly 69,000. I don't know if you can see that up here on this chart, but if I hover over that week, we hit $69,000.00 on November 8th, 2021. 1 year later, FTX crashed and we hit $15,512. So exactly a year later, as a matter of coincidence, really more than anything else, that was the absolute top to the absolute bottom. So we're a significant portion of the way back. We are not that far off of our highs at this point. And we're really crushing the previous cycle. Now, the previous cycle was a little funny, and all things considered, if you compare all the cycles put together, I think we're inside of a range where we're, reasonably mirroring previous 4-year cycles. But I actually think this cycle is going to be better than a lot of people think. I have a Bitcoin price target that I think is higher than the vast majority of people, and I don't think it's unreasonable. But we'll do that poll later, and then I'll let you guys know what I'm thinking. But the first thing is, here you go. You got to go all the way back to 2021. December 28th, 2021 is the last time Bitcoin was over $50,000. So this, to George's point, this is a big deal. We've been waiting for this, and in fact, we did some polls in August, September, October of 2023. There were a lot of people that thought we weren't going to get to $50,000 at the peak of this bull market, this 4-year cycle. So we're at 50,000 before the halving. So you can see how sentiment can shift and has shifted. So I don't want to get, the part of the deal here when we're at this point in the process is to not get too euphoric, because we do need to remember pullbacks happen. This is how this stuff works. So we are actually, in some ways, I'm just scrolling out here and just to look, these lines are actually on here, but back in April of 2023, we had about a 20% pullback. Back in, July of 2023, we had a 20% pullback. Prior to that, back in February of 2023, we had over a 20% pullback. So three different times inside of what was 2023, Bitcoin was up 150%. So in a year where Bitcoin was up 150%, we had 3 pullbacks. A 20% pullback in the stock market is a full-blown bear market. A 20% pullback in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, that's just what happens. I mean, it happened 3 times in 1 year. 20% pullback's a bear market. The economy's in a recession if you're talking about the equities and the indexes. But, in cryptocurrency, this is what we can expect. And if we zoom into this year, we've actually already had one this year. It's only February 12th. But if you go from the peak on January 11th down to the bottom on, looks like January 23rd. So, that's under 2 weeks. That's a 21.5% pullback. So we've already done this once. So my point of all this is, a lot of times, a lot of people think, geez, I've missed the whole thing. I blew it. Or they start FOMOing in and, putting all their money in at the highs. And that's a buy high, sell low type of scenario. And I'm not telling anybody what to do. I actually bought some today. But I'm going to show you why. But my point is, this is why I dollar cost average. So again, George makes money day trading. I know a lot of our people make money trading options. A lot of other people swing trade. And we have a lot of people that are buying and holding with exit strategies in 2025. So, they're all different ways to do this. But the one thing we all hope to avoid and do our best to avoid is to buy in high on FOMO and then sell on panic. But I'm going to zoom way in and show you why I actually did open some pretty bigger than usual positions today. Because if you look at, so this was Friday. We closed Friday, was actually a breakout as well. The previous high close for really all of 2023 and then into 2024 was on this day, January 8th. And again, this is the daily candle close. We did candle wick higher than this, the 3 days after this, but we closed at around 46,995, so just under 47,000. Well, Friday was the first day, in the last couple of years that we closed over 47,000. We closed at 47,160. So that was one thing. But what I was really looking for was this green line right here at 48,240. And you can see we candle wicked above this. This was that day when everything went crazy. So just to remind everybody, as you guys probably remember, on January 11th, on January 10th, I think all the ETFs got approved. On January 11th, they started trading. And we had about a 45-minute window of time where Bitcoin skyrocketed up to $49,000. Within an hour, it was $1,500 less than that. It closed that daily candle all the way down at around 46,600. So, like 25, that's down $2,500. And then we proceeded to go down. This was actually a part of that 20+% pullback that we had. So this line right here at 48,240, I'm going to go to the 1 week and just zoom back out and show you, because this is a hugely significant line, in my opinion, that we've been looking at on the channel for months and months and months. So on the 1 week, this looks like not that long ago, but this was all the way back to March 28th, 2022. So this is just short of 2 years ago. And this was a candle wick. So we have not gotten back to that. We candle wicked again for about 45 minutes. We candle wicked above this on the day the ETF started trading, but closed. You can see all these daily closes are nowhere near that line. So go back to the 1 day. And if I zoom in, you'll see yesterday, actually Sunday, this daily candle closed above this line. So what I usually like to look for is, number one, having a daily candle close above a line of, this has been basically resistance now for, we just showed, just under 2 years. So we got a daily candle that closed above this. And then what I really like to see is at least one daily candle after that closes above it again. We're looking for as much confirmation as we can get. So, this was the move. And then when we started to take off this morning, I felt like this was the move that I've been waiting for a long time. We were getting confirmation. We were off to the races. So I actually did, even though I've filled out most of my positions and, I've been dollar cost averaging in for years, I did put what I'm hoping to be a swing trade on. And, we did get a giant run up today. We're now hanging out around 50,000. It would be nice to get a daily candle close above 50,000, but that's not really a hugely relevant line, in my opinion. It's more of a psychological line. So it would be nice to see. But either which way, to me, this is confirmation. I believe this means the next move, we continue to go up from here. And that doesn't mean up forever in a straight line. Like I just said, at some point at the end of this run, we're likely to get a 20 or 25 or even 30% pullback. I will tell you, in the last bull market, most of these pullbacks were closer to 30% than they were 20%. So, in 2023, we had these series of 20% pullbacks. As we accelerate to the upside, the more we go up, the more we come down in these, mini bear cycles. So, anywhere from 20 to 30%, but who knows where we run. I think we're anywhere from, at the super low end, 51. I'm looking for 55,000. So
55?
I'm looking for 55,000. So we'll see, and that doesn't mean it's going to go straight, but you can see every time we break through some of these, look what happened here. On February 7th, we closed above this line. So this had been resistance since December 8th. As soon as you can see, and we just closed a little bit, and this has happened time after time after time in this entire bull run, which we're now 14 or 15 months into. Every time we take out one of these lines and get a daily close, look, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 vicious, huge candles, green candles to the upside.
It's almost like there's a new moon.
Is there a new moon?
No, there was. That's when it's sorry, on the 9th.
Okay, so there you go. So this is the trade that I'm looking at. If it doesn't work, like I said, I'll just stop out of it. And, and this is the tiny piece of what I do, and I let you guys know what I do. I'm a dollar cost average. I bought all of 2022, all of 2023. I was dollar cost averaging into these. And particularly, I will tell you, I got what I consider to be oversized positions in CleanSpark and Bitfarms. And the reason for that was those two, they lingered at these lower numbers. Bitfarms was between $1 and $1.20 for like a year. It popped up a couple of times outside of that range, but it just sat there at $1. And pretty much as soon as it broke out of that $1, it ran straight to $3. And it's been between $2 and $3 ever since. Today being the first day, it got back above $3 in a little while. We could take a look at that chart later, but and that move is nothing compared to CleanSpark was trading with a 3 handle for half to 3/4 of the year, even in 2023 as Bitcoin was running. So, all of 2022 to me was a buying opportunity in CleanSpark. Most of 2023 was, and as you know, we went from $3.50 to $16 in a heartbeat with CleanSpark. So, congratulations to those of you in on that trade. And the thing is, a lot of the other Bitcoin miners are up big time as well. So,
Oh, I forgot to write the word challenge. The 10K. Take a guess of what you guys think it has in it now.
And give
And
people a little history so they got
and
some
it does
perspective for
have
those of you.
CleanSpark in it, and we haven't touched it in
So it
2
got down to
years.
what? $1,600.
It got down to $1,600. I just heard that in my head. It's like it just like popped up. $1,600. Guess where it is today? I just was in shock. So this other guy that was trading it was doing all these complicated like option tradings until we couldn't do options anymore because all the money was gone.
I did no options trading in that account.
Oh, here he goes.
I look back at the history. I did no options trading. However, we started that.
It does have HUD into it. It has HUD in it too, so that's the bad news.
It has HUD, although HUD's had a little bit of a run, but I don't. I personally
it's only
don't feel
upside
great
down in one thing, and that's HUD, by the way.
There you go.
I'll tell you that. It's funny that they were able to suppress Bitcoin for what, almost 2 weeks from the ETF? 3 weeks?
Yeah, I mean, this was a 2 week 2 weeks from the top to the bottom, and then another week after that. So there was 3 weeks. For this 3 weeks, like, this period right here, people were afraid. The narrative for a lot of this was, there were 3 or 4 things. First, it started with Grayscale. Oh, we didn't realize Grayscale's got, and everybody realized this. It's just they created it as FUD. Grayscale had, at the time it switched from a trust to an ETF, it had 620,000 Bitcoin in it. So for several reasons, for 2 big reasons. One, it had been trading at a discount because it was locked up in a trust. So when it converted to an ETF, that discount went over the course of 6 or 8 months. It was almost a 50% discount, and then obviously it went to 0. So a lot of people got to take their money out at that point. And in addition to that, Grayscale is charging, 5 or 6 times the fee of the large Bitcoin spot ETFs. So, there was a lot of outflows. We'll take a look at that chart. There was, for almost 2 weeks, there was like $500 million a day coming out of that trust. More than 150,000 Bitcoin have left that trust, but you're going to see that has decelerated now, and it looks like the vast majority of that is behind us. And that doesn't mean there won't be more outflows. That could very well trickle on for a while, but those $500 million days are long gone, and the other ETFs are off to the races. So, we got the news, Grayscale is going to put sell pressure on Bitcoin for the next 6 months or a year. Then it was, everything in Mt. Gox is going to get sold immediately. Then it was all the Silk Road stuff's going to get sold immediately. And then there was one more on top. It was just like thing after thing after thing. And there was just, to me, when we see that kind of stuff, it's not. Here's the thing, like everybody knows about Mt. Gox. The thing's been going on for a decade. So, it's not new news. Somebody had sent an email verifying some, is this your address? And it's like, so certain people got that email, and then all of a sudden that led to like that equals, or they're going to liquidate 100% of all the Bitcoin in Mt. Gox immediately. And it's like, that's not how that's going to work. And it didn't work that way. The other thing is we can see how there's so much demand right now, and we're not even in the, bull part of this cycle if this plays out the way it has in the past. And the demand pressure is huge. And the demand pressure that these ETFs has created is, it's amplifying the normal bull part of this process, which is why I feel so confident. That's the other thing. Today is Monday. So to me, it was likely when we got that confirmation Sunday night, Monday, the ETFs start trading again. And, the inflows have been increasing. So that's just putting more and more demand. So there was every reason. I think the rest of this week is up. Having said that, by tomorrow, I could be dead wrong. Everybody knows when, in the very short term, the next day, the next week, even the next month, a lot of times you're going to be wrong. And that's why, for me, I try to dollar cost average. I have some price targets on where I think all this stuff is going over the next 12 to 18 months at this point. And I still remain extremely bullish in 2024, extremely bullish in 2025. So having said that, always be cautious and look for, like, this was great buying opportunity. I got this ridiculous circle that's not really a circle. This was a great time to dollar cost average in. Right? You got to buy it, if you got all the way to the bottom, you got to buy Bitcoin, at around $38,500 just a couple weeks ago, and now we're over $50,000. So whether it was Bitcoin or all the Bitcoin miners let's take a look at that chart.
I'm just telling you one thing. They're not getting my 1,000 coins, Tom. Never selling
That's
them.
it. Hold for life. Diamond hands. So this is a chart through last Friday. And let me first show you just a refresher. This was last week. CleanSpark was up 68% last week. Iris Energy was up 57%. That's just a week last week, right? It's few and far between stocks that do this in a year. Now, I know there's a lot of stocks that, have big moves, but these are spectacular moves. And this is just 1 week. You got a lot of 30s, 20s. Bitcoin was up 11% last week. That was a spectacular week. My point is, even after this incredible week that we had last week, if you go back, all the Bitcoin miners peaked on December 27th. That was their high. That every Bitcoin miner hit their 2-year high. And when I say every, just the 19 that I follow in particular that you're seeing on this list. The one that you won't see on some of my lists is Cypher, because of the fact that, Core Scientific, because they went into Chapter 11. When they come out of Chapter 11, technically it's a new company, and they did so by issuing shares of stock and multiple warrants. So there's no longer an apples to apples to compare on that one. So I don't want to, the numbers would be misleading. But anyway, that's the 19th of the 19. You're going to see, even with this giant green week I just showed you, in the last 6.5 week period, CleanSpark's the only Bitcoin miner that's even in the green, and that was 4%. So it had to move up 68% just to get up 4% in a 6.5 week period. So we had a 5.5 week period where there was a vicious move to the downside. This happened in 2023 as well. And it was 14 weeks long in 2023. So we kept, we were doing extra live streams, etc., to just kind of keep people off the ledge, if you will, because that was very, very difficult. Even this 5.5 weeks was very difficult. When you get 2, 3, 4 weeks into this serious downward pressure, it just feels like, that's it. It's just down from here. It's over. And, I start to see more and more. I should do we should do a live stream where we just go through comments, because I can't tell you how many comments I got. These are all junk stocks. They're garbage stocks. They're all going to be penny stocks. They're all going to be under $1. These are all comments I got, in the last 2 weeks. So, for those people, they missed this week, right? And then they missed, this day today. Let's just take a look at what happened today. Marathon, largest by market cap out of all the Bitcoin miners. Marathon was up 14% today. Another very interesting thing happened today. Last week we had a poll. Could CleanSpark pass Riot? Our poll was in stock price, but then, I posed the question, they stand a shot at passing them in market cap as well. Well, guess what? We're only on Monday. They did both. Although the market cap may still be ever so slightly the same, but you'll see CleanSpark's now, they closed at $16.01 and Riot's at $15.92. By the way, Riot was up 9.4%, so it had a spectacular day. It's just that CleanSpark was up just under 15%. So it closed over $16. That destroys its previous high from December. So, CleanSpark is way ahead right now over the last 6 or 8 week period, really over the last 6 or 8 month period. CleanSpark has run out ahead of all the other Bitcoin miners from a stock performance standpoint rather dramatically. So I'll show you some charts to show you even some of the ones that are doing very well are just, CleanSpark has been on a vicious run. So, I'm actually a little worried that, it may be a little bit overbought at this point. But, again, I'm kind of a long term. So, if there's a dip, then, and I won't be buying, just so that you guys know, not that it matters, but I will no longer be buying the dips on CleanSpark and Bitfarms. What I may consider doing, as I just talked about with some swing trades, I may do some option trading. If there's a dip, I may try and swing trade some CleanSpark options or some Bitfarm options. But to me, I did so much dollar cost averaging into those. Those positions are full. There's other positions I would still like to get a crack at adding more to, but it's not those two. And everybody's different. That's why, when somebody says, oh, what should I buy next? Well, what do you have? You know what I mean? Everybody's portfolio is different. Everybody's investment strategy is different, time frame, risk tolerance, et cetera, et cetera. So, there is no one answer. A lot of times people are like, hey, what should I buy? But nobody can answer that question for you other than yourself. So, and I will say, be extra careful. The amount of hype that I'm seeing out there on YouTube is, and and I won't name any names, and maybe every person believes every single word they're saying, but the hype cycle is already seems to be spiraling out of control. So I am very bullish. I just told you I think the next move is up, but I also like to remind people we do get pulled. We're going to get a 20 or 30% pullback again in the year 2024. While I can't tell you that's a fact because it's the future and nobody knows the future, that is just by far the most likely outcome. We may get 2 or 3 of them. So I think that's an important thing to remember as you invest, because if you don't remember that and you have your expectation that it's from, it's just up from here, it's to the moon, then when we get one of these naturally reoccurring things that are, extremely predictable, there's a lot of technical analysis to show, hey, we're overdue for one of these. So if we're overdue for a pullback and we get one, that really shouldn't scare anybody. And it's why I don't do a lot of technical analysis on this channel. I try to stick to 2 or 3 or 4 basic indicators, but just to show people, and I'm going to show you one right now, because we're definitely, if you look at the 1 day, RSI, this is the relative strength index, you're going to see we're getting very close to 80 on the relative strength index. For those of you who don't know what this is, I know a lot of you know what this is, so, bear with me while I explain it anyway, because, we have all different level of investors here. For the most part, and you'll see a purple area, 30 is considered oversold, meaning, you can expect that the sell pressure is running out and you may have bottomed out. That doesn't mean it's up from there. The stock may go sideways, but the sell pressure seems to be running out. When you get to 70, typically, that means you're overbought and the buying pressure is going to start to run out. Now, for me, I always reiterate, for me personally, in Bitcoin and in the entire cryptocurrency universe, because it's a much more volatile asset, I believe that 80 is really, in my mind, 80 is overbought. So we are very close to that right now. We're at 78. You can see the last time we topped out was December 5th, and we got to 81.4. The time we topped out before that was October 25th. We got to almost 88. So, you can even get to 90. So that's why, yes, we're overbought. So at some point, if this reverses and we get our 20% pullback, it should not be a surprise to anybody. But I do think, there is room. You can see between here and this line at this off here, this line 89.46. This line goes way back. I don't even know how far. It looks like this might be January of 2023. So this does get up to 90 from time to time. So anywhere from 80 to 90, this can run to. And to me, that's the run from potentially from somewhere between 50 and 55,000 for Bitcoin. So there's no guarantee of that, because, and this is where things get ambiguous and it could go either way. Because the other thing this is saying, at 78, we're already, overbought or pushing overbought. So it's one of those, be careful. That's why I have a stop loss. I'll get out. If this turns around, and goes the other way, I'm not going to jump right out because these are volatile, but I will mitigate my losses and get out if this thing's not working. But I think there's no one indicator that tells you everything. So even though this indicator is showing, you know what, maybe we're getting a little bit into overbought territory, there's a lot of different factors, some of which are technical analysis, some of which are market sentiment, some of which are psychological things like 50,000. We have external buying pressure coming in from the ETFs that I think from Monday to Friday are going to tend to push the Bitcoin price of Bitcoin up while we're headed in that direction. And we are still in super early days for the spot ETF. So the numerous spot ETFs. We'll look at that chart next. Did I miss a poll? What happened?
Yeah, no, I did a couple. So what was it? Scott, come on. FOMO is real, Tom, just as George.
Thank you for the super
Thank
chat,
you,
Scott.
Oh, by the way, I got in first thing this morning. 7:02 a.m. I was in. FYI, but I was also out by the end of the day.
And it's funny because even like 2 minutes before the market opened, a lot of these Bitcoin miners were red.
Hammered. Oh, they were getting hammered. It was awesome.
Right. So
Great day.
This
Very
was
happy.
You want to talk about a good day-to-day trade, and again, it's not really my thing, but George has been having big success with that. So
CPI data, when does that come out, Tom?
CPI comes out at 8:30 Eastern time, so we're on the East Coast of the US. So our time, that's at 8:30 in the morning.
Okay, so that's tomorrow?
And is CPI tomorrow?
When is it? Tuesday, Wednesday? I don't know.
Let's just take a look. It shouldn't sneak up on me, but I've kind of taken my eye off of the CPI data because I feel like it's built in at this point. What's going to happen unless we get some wild February 13th. So that is tomorrow morning at 8:30 a.m. Unless we get some insane number. And I'll show you why I say that. You'll see. So this is the CME FedWatch tool to show what the market sentiment is as it pertains to, this was for, we had a series of rate hikes over a period of time. Now we've had a series of the Fed doing nothing. And now this is measuring, what is the market building in as the probability of a rate cut. So you'll see this is sitting at 15%. A month ago, at the bottom here, it's actually off the screen, I'll scroll up, but it's still probably too small to see. This number here, a month ago, this was at 77% and a 4% chance of a 50 basis point rate hike. So a month ago, the market thought there was an 80% chance a rate cut. An 80% chance that the Fed was going to cut rates in March. But due to a series of things, including the last CPI report, that's basically been eliminated. This is down to 15%, and it's just, they're not going to cut rates in March. Even if they Jerome Powell pretty much came out and said, you know what, even if we get a great reading in March, we don't have enough data, and that seems to be too soon. Now, anything's possible, but I have discounted a March rate cut. Unless some other external things happen, like we get a giant bank failure or one of those things. Matthew Avery, who is a member, thank you very much, Matthew, for the super chat. Much appreciated.
He said, did you see what he said? Up 82K in 2 weeks. This is the single best 2 weeks period in my life. I added that for you, Matthew.
Congratulations, Matthew. That is absolutely awesome news. So yeah, everybody, feel free if you are interested, share your success stories because that's real money. Like that's for most people, that's life-changing type stuff. And I know everybody invests at different levels and has they're at a different point in their life or their investment career. But listen, I don't care who you are. 82 grand, that's a lot of money. So absolute huge congratulations to Matthew. That's a
And
big deal.
and that's the key to the whole thing. That's why we started this channel, Tom and I.
Yes, we've talked about that a lot, and thanks for mentioning that, George. I mean, that's what we're looking for. And obviously, you know, everybody and Matthew should, you know, congratulate himself, because in the end, we all make our own investment decisions. You know, we've tried to create a community here where, you know, we have a support group, we have we have a Discord for, you know, free Discord for everybody. We have a members only Discord where, you know, we talk a lot and bounce ideas off of each other. But at the end of the day, you know, you got to pull the trigger and make your own buying and selling decisions. So, you know, for you to be up $82,000 means you held in and held strong. And so congratulations. That's phenomenal. Yes, if everybody could please, as an aside, if everybody could smash the like button, it does help the stream out in real time, so it is much appreciated. And it helps the channel out. And while you're at it, if you're new here or if you have not yet subscribed, we are pushing for 20,000 subscribers. So it's been a long journey. For those of you who have not been here before, we've been doing this for 3 years now. We've made well over 1,000 videos, probably coming up on 1,500 videos. So, you know, we've been at this for a long time, working hard, you know, trying to create a community to help people do just what Matthew just talked about. So,
and it started out more as investing, and it just kind of migrated into Bitcoin miners.
Right. This began as just a piece of what we did, and it's turned into, you know, 95+% of what we did. Clive Chang, thank you very much for the super chat. Clive said, Tom, I'm really grateful for your outstanding podcasts. They've been instrumental in refining my decision-making process. As a result, my portfolio is soaring to new highs. Congratulations, Clive.
This is what I would say to Clive. I believe I can fly. I believe I can touch the sky. Sorry. Think about it every night and day. Sorry.
We're gonna have a karaoke stream. We just need a little more practice.
A lot more practice, guys.
Let's see. I saw somebody else. I can't find it now, but somebody else said they had a Harrison. I'm up 42K since January 10th. I sold today. So there you go.
That's awesome.
That's profit taking. That's $42,000 real money.
I was all excited until I went into my Schwab account, Schwabe, and then I looked at my return on my investment. It said negative 32%. And then I went and I really looked into the numbers. They don't take into consideration that you take money out. They just think you lost it. I was like, you know, I took a lot of money out of this account. Isn't that crazy?
Some apps are better than others.
I was just insane because I took, you know, a lot of money out.
It's funny. I know you gotta keep track of this stuff yourself and know what you're doing. And
so don't trust any of the numbers you read if you're trading, you know, especially day trading or any trading. Just make a Google spreadsheet and put down your purchase price and when you sold it so you know what you made.
Cosmic Contrarian, thank you very much. Cosmic Contrarian said, Tom and George are the gold standard of Bitcoin miner content. Thank you. That is much appreciated.
Well, I'm going to take anything that says I'm in the gold standard. Well, thank you. He really meant Tom, but he just like, I got to throw George's name. I don't want to put it in there, but I'm going to do it anyways. Thank you for that.
Let's see.
Fever.
What's our next
definitely
poll?
Fever. Tom, Sebastian, and Fever got me into CleanSpark. We were talking about
Fever?
Fever, Crypto Fever. Come on, man.
Oh, inside our own member.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yes.
What would you say right now, best Bitcoin miner to invest in if you were going into the game starting today, Monday the 12th?
Me?
Yeah. What would you do?
Well, I'll tell you what I did do today. I went into Riot. which I know is probably going to be a pretty unpopular thing to say, but I think
When are their earnings?
they have not announced their earnings, and I will tell you, with Riot, they never, they have not properly announced their earnings in the last. Even when they put out an announcement, they end up doing it a different day. It boggles my mind. Like, what a fundamentally simple thing.
I know.
And
It just shows you how unorganized they are.
so it goes to the fact that while I do think they have some internal issues that they need to straighten out, it's just such a fundamentally strong company, and it is lagging behind. Despite, it's had a nice run, but it's lagging behind its peers, and their balance sheet is very strong. They have a nice Bitcoin hodl stack. They have a lot of cash. They have $0 in debt, and they have more infrastructure than any other Bitcoin miner, period, and it's not even close. Now, are they going to utilize that infrastructure and, maximize it, or is it going to go to waste? That's really the last question with Riot, but they've put themselves in a position to, be. I think there's 3 Bitcoin miners that have broken away from the pack. I think there's 4 or 5 past that may be great investments, but there's 3 that have now broken away from the pack. Marathon, Riot, and CleanSpark, just from a growth strategy. And this is not on paper. Like, they're executing these growth plans. All 3 of those, I think, have a very legitimate. It is their target to be at 50 exahash, by 2025. And I think that all 3 have a legit shot to get there. And you know what? If they end up at 38 or 42, whatever the case may be, I do think for the next long time, those will be the top 3. Now, Core Scientific has some growth plans, but they've put out, all they've talked about, I think they're at 18.6 exahash right now. So they did a bunch of growth over the last couple of months. They were down around 15. They got to 18.6, but their current plans that they have actually purchase ordered, and I think is to get to maybe 20 or 21. So there'll probably be more announcements to follow, but they have a little more complicated situation. So I do think they'll also do well, but CleanSpark, Marathon, and Riot to me have broken away from the pack. So, and again, I don't. That doesn't mean they're the only 3 miners to invest in. Although we have had a few people say, why are you bothering with everybody else? Those are best of breed. Just invest in those. So, that's one strategy. King Hazy, thank you very much for the super chat and welcome to the live stream. Hello, guys. Sorry I'm late. Did Tom mention CPI numbers come out tomorrow morning? Everything tanked the last time. So that is true. I did just talk about that a little, but let's go to what King Hazy just said. Everything did tank the last time, and it had everything to do with what Jerome Powell said after, which is typically the case. I think we all know, we definitely know that, I won't say definitely. At this point, it's priced in that there's not going to be a rate cut in March. And sorry, Jerome Powell will not respond to the CPI numbers. So I'm thinking of the FOMC meeting. But last time, those CPI numbers came in hot, and we hadn't had that in a while. And that's when the market sentiment, that was one of 2 shifts. That was the first little inkling that, hey, maybe this March thing we're all counting on isn't going to happen. And then, when the Fed came out and had their January meeting and, Jerome Powell came out and spoke, then it was crystal clear. We're not getting a rate cut in March. Now the market's 50-50 on whether or not we're going to get one in May. So let's go to May before I say those numbers. Let's take an actual look. So it's now so this is a 25 basis point rate cut. That's at just under 49%, and 7.5%. Think a 50 basis point cut in May. So a little over half, 43.5% chance that we get no rate cut in May. So this has shifted a little bit back over 50%, but we're in that 50-50 range for May. I do think we'll get one in May. Ultimately, even though these are getting pushed back in the Fed watch tool, which just follows the futures market, the market does think that by the end of the year, we're going to get 4 or 5 rate cuts. It's just a matter of when. So I do think unless this CPI data is a nightmare, I think we've already paid the price here with the last CPI number. So we'll see if I'm wrong. I'll tell you this, if there's a pullback, and many times there is a knee-jerk reaction to the CPI number. So if it's a bad number and there's a pullback, I will be buying the dip. So, that's not financial advice. That's a lot of those are great opportunities. Those are some of the great opportunities for buying the dips are after CPI data. There's oftentimes an irrational knee-jerk reaction that can last anywhere from 30 minutes to 2 days. After the Fed meetings, same thing. You could day trade, you could minute trade the from 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock the day the Fed puts out their numbers. You could get swings up and down and up and down. I mean, it's drastic. So I just don't think there's a number that could come out tomorrow that would change my mind on what's going to happen particularly for Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners, and as to whether or not and when we get a rate cut. But I've been surprised before, I've been wrong before, and I'll be wrong again. And so we'll just have to see if it's tomorrow. If it is tomorrow, then my short-term trade that I put on for Bitcoin to take the next leg up will probably fail. But again, for those of you who missed it, I'm just simply looking at the fact that we've been looking on this channel for a long time. This green line at 48,240, this goes back to March 28th of 2022. That was the last peak. That was the last hurrah for Bitcoin. From that day forward, we were in a crypto winter. We rapidly moved down from there and stayed down for, a long time. So
question, real quick.
Yes.
Before you answer that, CPI numbers, which should they come in at tomorrow, you think?
Well, we'll pull up and see what the expectation is. I haven't even looked at the chart, so I don't know. I will tell you, usually, let me get to Petty Camp, and then I'll answer that question. Petty Camp, thank you very much for the super chat. That is very much appreciated. Petty Camp said, love these guys. If I was a drinker, I'd play the drinking game. Down a shot every time says winners and losers, as well as not financial advice. LOL, all in fun. Thank you both for all you do. Love your content. Yeah, please don't play that drinking game. You will be definitely drunk by the end of a live stream. I just think it's important to remind people. I mean, there's going to be, I'm going to say it again, there are going to be winners and losers. The last time around, and the reason that I harp on this, and thank you very much, Petty Camp, for bringing that up, and very much appreciate the super chat. That's very generous. Hopefully that means that you are doing well and your portfolio is doing well. In the last bull market, back in 2021, there wasn't winners and losers. It was throw a dart at a board time, and whatever one it hit, if you picked that one, you got a 5x, 10x, 20x, 40x. Some of these more than 40x'd in the last cycle. That's not what this cycle is going to look like. I am expecting big moves to the upside, but it's not going to be across the board. Bitcoin has matured significantly. The network is gigantic compared to what it was in the last cycle. So the people that have not caught up have fallen behind. And some of these Bitcoin miners have fallen behind the network fairly dramatically. So investors are a little more savvy. And, with the fact that some of these are clearly performing very well, some of the ones that are questionable or performing poorly, the money's just going to leave those. So that's why I say that, just be careful. If you're swing trading some of these microcap and nanocap stocks, you might get a good day or a good week. But I'll tell you, look at today. You've got DigiHost in the red today. You've got Mawson in the red today. So on a day where the big Bitcoin miners are up 10%, 15%, Cypher's up 16%, Iris is up 16%, BitTier's up 16%, you know, CleanSpark's up 14, Bitfarms up just about 13%. Those are, you know, the magnitude of those moves. Those moved 10 times as much in market cap today as the total market cap of some of these small companies like Stronghold and Gree. So, you know, if these companies were going to move, you would expect to start seeing giant moves right now. And that's why I think the market's getting a little more savvy this time around. And there are some Bitcoin miners where, for me, when I do, you know, if I just crunch the numbers and do the math, some of them I just don't see how they're going to make it. And that really wasn't true the last time around. Now, you know, this crypto winter was brutal. So, you know, that can even put a strain on, you know, some medium companies. But there are now some companies that are just very, very strong companies, and you can see money gravitating to them. So I just want to look at a couple of things. Let's take a look at also, I want to let everybody know, you know, these numbers are not real time because most of these companies have at the market shelf offerings. So they are issuing stock on a regular basis, and we don't know that from day to day. But in general, these are reasonably accurate. So CleanSpark is now a $3.146 billion market cap. So remember, this was a $3 and change stock. Look at 52-week low, $2.04. This is 8x'd in the last 52 weeks. So this is what I'm saying. Like, the winners are going to win. And, you know, if you were dollar cost averaging into CleanSpark in the $2, $3, $4, $5 range, you've already hit a home run, a grand slam home run. So my point of this was, to our question we went through the other day, is can CleanSpark pass Riot? Well, look how close these guys are. So if I go to Riot's market cap, 3.288. So intraday, there may have been a moment where CleanSpark was actually ahead of Riot, and I almost positive there was, where CleanSpark was ahead of Riot from a market cap standpoint, because CleanSpark actually finished off of its highs of the day. If I go back, you'll see this got up to $16.44 today. So either which way, we're pretty much within the margin of error. These are now the same size market cap. And if I went back in time, there was a time not so long ago that Riot's market cap was 5 times CleanSpark's. I'm talking about in the last 52 weeks. So that's how much CleanSpark has overperformed. And let's just take a look at a couple of charts, and you can see this.
The last 52 days. Sorry.
Yes, seriously. Let's go to CleanSpark's chart. You're right, George. I mean, if you just go back the last week. Let's go back to January 19th. That is less than 1 month ago, right? So in less than 1 month, from the bottom to the top, that's a 156% move. If we go to the close today, it's a 150% move to the upside in less than 1 month. But if we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's 1 week. In these 5 trading days, that's 110%. So this is what I'm saying. Like, since we talked about this on the members only stream, this thing's doubled. Now, it's done something that no other Bitcoin mining stock has done. It's taken out, this was the December high. So it has now taken out its high on December 27th. I told you every single Bitcoin miner hit their high for the year, really a 2-year high, 2022 and 2023. So that was December 27th. CleanSpark has now taken out that. It also took out, this green line goes all the way back. This goes back to March of 2022. There is no other Bitcoin miner that is even close to the price that they were in March of 2022. So CleanSpark has run out ahead so much further and faster than all the other Bitcoin miners. And let me get to Clive, and then I'll show you just a couple others that are actually, you know, doing by far better than average and still paling in comparison to CleanSpark, which is why I feel like maybe, you know, CleanSpark could go a little bit sideways or have a little bit pullback in the short term, but I'm still bullish on them in the long term. Just my opinion. Clive Chang, thank you for the super chat. George stick to trading, drop the singing. Uh-oh, Clive just must have got to that portion of the program.
That's really funny. Hey, question, Tom. How many times has a stock done what CleanSpark has done? I mean, that's very rare, isn't it?
It's very rare. You will find examples of this. There's times stock do this in one day, but usually here's where it's more rare. Usually they're micro cap or nano cap stocks. So, if a nano cap stock is $50 million or less. So, for a nano cap stock to double, to go from $20 million market cap to $40 million market cap, that's a $20 million move if that takes a week. But remember, this was a $1.5 billion move in the last week. So, it's the bigger you are, the harder it is to do a move like this in a week is crazy.
So I have a question. How come people always, like when they're down, they sell, but when they're up, they don't sell? You know what I'm saying? Like they're like, oh my God, I'm down $5,000. But if you're up $5,000, they don't sell. But like the psychology, is it the psychology of it?
It's
like, oh my goodness, I'm down $60,000. Then they're up $60,000, but they don't take the same, you know what I mean? One to one. You see what I mean?
People are trading out of, and this is not an insult, this is human nature, and the stock market is set up to take advantage. Retail investors are people, right? And we have, human nature is real. And so, we trade on fear very often. So that's why I harp on, you can add this to the list of things I say, have a plan, stick to your plan. Unless there's a fundamental change in your company, don't panic sell, because that's what George is explaining. This is why retail investors all too often, and again, it goes back to why we started this channel, too many people buy high and sell low. And that sounds like, well, that's ridiculous. Why would anybody ever buy high and sell low? Well, in hindsight, it turns out to be a bad move. But as you feel that downward pressure, like let's say you bought, let's use CleanSpark as an example. Let's say you bought around here. Well, it jumps up. The more things start to move up, you feel that FOMO. Oh man, it's going up. It's going to go up. I missed it. I already missed it. Or if I don't do it now, I'm never going to get it. So they start buying here. And then all of a sudden you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. This is 14 trading days to the bottom. That's 3 weeks, which, in crypto time feels like a year. You know what I mean? And the momentum is, this is just down. So somewhere along the way, you panic and you go, you know what? I can't afford to lose all my money. This thing's going back. And when you look at these charts, you start to look at these numbers and go, oh man, like this thing hung around. Look how many times it bounced off of $3.33. This is what I'm saying. Like I got to accumulate. This was 2023. This was the better year. This thing was down under $2. So you start to look at these numbers and go, I better get out at $6 because it's going to $3. And
what was it? What day was Marathon the highest last year? Was like on the 25th or the 24th?
December 27th.
I bought then.
So if you bought then, so let's go to Marathon.
Yeah, and I got wrecked, but
here's the thing.
I actually went and got more money and bought it, like put more money in.
Marathon is one of the leaders, and you're going to see how far behind, even as one of the stocks that's done, better by far than average of the Bitcoin miners since December 27th. Look how far behind it is CleanSpark. CleanSpark, to put it in perspective, they are now about 18% above where they closed on December 27th. And also, they've taken out their March 28th, 2022 number from 2 years ago. So if we go to, I thought I had this open, but maybe I don't. So we'll just switch to Marathon. If we go to Marathon, and Marathon has performed very well. If you look at the last 1, 2, 3, 4 trading days, right from the bottom to the top, Marathon's up from the bottom to the top 70%. That's an incredible run. But this still leaves them. This was their high on December 27th. So they're getting close, but they're 15% below their high from December 27th, whereas CleanSpark's 18% above their high from December 27th. I think CleanSpark may be the only one that has taken out that December 27th high. And by the way, Marathon's one of the best performers. If you go to, let's go to Riot. This is why I went into Riot today. So, and this is back, this is their, so we didn't even talk about the July highs. So Riot is 17% off of its December highs, but Riot did not get its run in December. All the other Bitcoin miners took out their highs from the summer. Riot back in July, so July 14th was the other day, the 13th or the 14th, all the Bitcoin miners hit a local high in the middle of 2023. Riot's still 30% under that number. So they are lagging significantly behind their competitors. So Marathon, if you look at that number, this was their high from July of 2023. So Marathon, conversely, Marathon's 37% above where it was in July. Riot's still, what did we say? Riot needs to go up 30% just to get back to where it was in July. So you can see how drastically Riot has underperformed versus Marathon. Marathon's one of the best performers, and it's significantly underperformed CleanSpark, which is why even though CleanSpark now is my biggest position in my portfolio, a lot of that is because of the dramatic move that it took. It's not the one I put the most money into. It's just my biggest position.
Did you hear me say I did? I
did. You've successfully day traded and swing traded this several times now.
That was it's the best move I've ever made. I sold everything and went into CleanSpark.
And it paid off.
That paid off. Yep.
Do not try this at home, but that
Riot. I'm thinking about doing the same thing with Riot, but the thing that scares me is their numbers. You think their numbers are going to come in good in it? You think they made money for Gap?
Riot got to their quarterly report this time. Well, it'll probably be fairly similar. Their previous quarterly report, they got all those giant energy credits. So, you don't get those in. This is October, November, December will be their report, and then it'll be their annual report. So, their cost per coin, when you consider the energy credits, is very, very low. But I look at that both ways because I think it's a little bit dangerous just to look at their cost per coin net of their energy credits. In addition to that, they have this black hole called hosting that seems to still be sucking money out of the company. So I will tell you, more so than, did they, and they will not show a profit from Gap. Well, if they do an early adoption, right, the accounting rules for holding Bitcoin have changed. Technically, you have to adopt that, I think, by December of 2024, but you can do early adoption. CleanSpark did do early adoption. They picked up, I think it was $31.6 million of operating income, and it turned them from negative income from operations to $26 million of gap income by making the change to the new accounting method. So it's a legitimate, everybody's going to have to make that change, but because they have a hodl position, they were able to pick up a lot of money. Well, if Riot does early adoption, they're going to get to pick up significantly more money than CleanSpark did. CleanSpark, I would get, and I'm just going to throw a number off the top of my head, I would think Riot's adjustment will be triple or quadruple, maybe more of what CleanSpark's was, because up until sometime around September of 2023, CleanSpark was not hodling Bitcoin. So they didn't have any of that Bitcoin on their balance sheet that had gotten marked down to $15,500. Riot does have a lot of that on their balance sheet. So they're going to get to mark that up to market. That's going to be a significant markup. Now, I don't know if they're going to do that in this report or not, right? They don't
When was their accounting? When was their accounting year that ended? When do you know?
This was their account. The year ended December 31st, 2023.
I mean, did they end it, or when was their accounting? Same?
What do you mean? Yeah,
Their
that's
accounting
their
year.
that is their fiscal year. Yes.
Oh, Unbiased said
But-
CleanSpark was permitted because they closed their books in September.
You can have early adoption on an accounting announcement. So early
can?
adoption is allowed. So I guess we'll see. Either way, from a stock standpoint, I think it's an important distinction as well. From a stock standpoint, all of these stocks, they trade based on the fair market value of the Bitcoin, right? Investors are not dumb. When you show $100 million of Bitcoin on your balance sheet, but it's worth $300 million, investors know that. And, so it is, by and large, it's built into the price of the stock. So I'm not saying that CleanSpark popped because of this one-time pickup. I'm just saying it changed from a GAAP purposes, it changed from a net loss to a net income for that purpose. So, and remember, there's really only 4 Bitcoin miners that are hodling. There's a few that are hodling tiny amounts, but there's Marathon has the most Bitcoin by far. Riot has the second, Hut has the second most, Riot the third most, and CleanSpark the fourth. And then Hive is pushing about 2,000 Bitcoin on their balance sheet at this point. So all the rest of them are not going to get this adjustment at all. So if you look down the list, like Cypher, TerraWolf, Iris Energy, BitDeer, Core Scientific, Argo Blockchain, DigiHost, Stronghold, Gree, Mawson, they're not going to get this one-time accounting adjustment. They don't really have a significant hodl position. And again, this is just accounting. So the one much more important than the adjustments these companies are going to get to make. By the way, the big adjustment is going to come from MicroStrategy. They're going to have, I don't know, $3, $4, $5, $6 billion adjustment. Their adjustment to net income in the quarter that they adopt this accounting practice is going to by far exceed their net income of their entire company lifetime to date, and it won't even be close. So they have a giant adjustment. But again, to that point, if you look at MicroStrategy,
I'm going to,
which we will right now, they have an $11 billion market cap. They're trading at $717. This is priced in. So, the investment community is not waiting for them to get to adjust their books for GAAP purposes. This $11 billion, this price has gone, well, let's pull up MicroStrategy's chart. I mean, they're trading like a Bitcoin miner, which is why we have them on our list due to popular request and demand. Look at this chart. This looks exactly like a Bitcoin miner. So they had this giant gap. They peaked actually on January 2nd, unlike the Bitcoin miners, a couple of trading days later. But they suffered the same thing from the peak to the trough. They were down 40%. And then obviously you do the math the other way. They're up about 65% in the last, this is just a couple of weeks. This is 3 weeks. So this is a monster move to the upside. MicroStrategy's performance, this does surprise me. I will tell you guys, I was nervous that MicroStrategy was going to lose investors to the ETFs. And by all appearances, that has not happened. I will also tell you, I was never worried that the Bitcoin miners were going to lose investment money to the Bitcoin ETFs. So I know that was a going theory. There was a lot of talk about that. I heard, a massive amount of comments in the comments section. I saw many YouTubers do videos on that. That thesis never made any sense to me at all. To me, somebody that's going to invest in a spot ETF versus a Bitcoin miner, those are dramatically different investments. So you could argue, well, people are just trying to get, exposure to Bitcoin. And that's the only reason they're investing in the Bitcoin miners. Well, the Bitcoin miners, and you guys are the group of people that know this better than anybody. The Bitcoin miners are significantly more volatile than Bitcoin. It is a different investment by far. Also, there's been a futures Bitcoin ETF for a long time. So if people just wanted dollar for dollar exposure to Bitcoin, they would have been in the futures ETF or they would have been in MicroStrategy. So they're very different investments. So I never thought that there would be any migration from the Bitcoin miners to Bitcoin, but it did allow, big money, if you will, to create a bunch of another, FUD type storyline that, you better get out. It's another reason somebody buys high and sells low. You know what? Everybody's going to bail on the Bitcoin miners. The spot ETFs got approved. Time to bail out. Well, that has clearly proven false. The last 3 days this 3-day run rivals any 3 days, even at the peak of the bull markets for Bitcoin. So this has been a spectacular run for the Bitcoin miners. Now, it did precede a big pullback, but again, this is what they do to us. So who are they? Who are they, George?
Who are they, Tom? I always want to know that. Tom, somebody asked, forgot who it was. What is your prediction for Bitcoin at the halving? And before you answer that, the 10K challenge is at 7,000, almost 7,000 even. FYI.
Nice. That is, yep.
So probably around the halving, we'll be back to 10K, hopefully.
Yes, and we never added a penny to that. So we will have taken a run from 1,600 to, I think we'll be way over 10,000.
Don't miss 10K down to 1,600.
That was 2022.
I'm just telling you, though, you got to give the story.
Okay, so the story is we started a 10K challenge January 1st, 2022. So in hindsight...
We picked the wrong year to do that.
Well, we picked the wrong year and we picked the wrong rules. And what I mean by that is, number one, that was the crypto winter, right? As it turns out. Number two, a part of the rules of the 10K challenge is we were not allowed to add any money to it. So we couldn't dollar cost average through the crypto winter. We were just stuck. So, we spent, and it was, mostly me, about, 90 to 120 days dollar cost averaging in and building out our positions. But by not being able to dollar cost average in anymore after that, we got wrecked. So it was the wrong time. It was the wrong rules. It was an example of what not to do. And it was a failure. Having said that, we left, in 2020.
Right now, it's a failure, but it will not be a failure.
It will not be. I'm saying in 2022, that was an abject failure. There's just no debating it. I'd love to say otherwise. But
time is the great equalizer, Tom.
That's
Don't
right.
Use the F word ever again.
Ever. But I'm the one who said, remember, you wanted to be like, let's just call this thing, it's over.
Are you kidding me? I said, let's keep it and run it.
Listen,
wait,
we've done this.
Wearing glasses again?
We've done this.
Your hearing aids?
We've done this live on the stream, so we could. I'll try to check the tape.
You find the tape. I said at this point in time, it's such a little bit of money. Why take it? Just let it ride.
That's what we ultimately agreed. Let's let it ride. But I'm the one who said, I believe this will get back beyond $10,000, even at $1,600. So, here we are. We're not there yet. So I can't claim any victory at all. We're still down, 2 years later, but we're on the move.
So,
That will be a glorious day when we can report to you that the 10K challenge is more than $10,000. It'll just be about 2 or 2.5 years later than we thought we'd be able to tell you that.
someone, this too shall pass, wants to know about Hive. I don't even know anything about Hive anymore. They lost a lot of my money and I forgot about them, Tom.
Well, Hive has been lagging, so I'll pull up the chart. But I will tell you, I did do a members-only video on Hive. I spent a lot of time on that video. I did a very deep dive, so I will pitch the membership, if you will. There's 7 or 8 deep dives in there that I've done over the last 2 months on a lot of the Bitcoin miners like Hive and Iris Energy and some of the ones that don't have broad mass appeal, so I can't do a regular video because it just won't get any views. But we're a Bitcoin mining community, so they're ones that I think the members enjoy. We did a TerraWolf video. We've done 7 or 8 of them recently. And Hive has taken a lot of action very quietly, right? They didn't have the gigantic press release that, you know, a CleanSpark or Bitfarms or Riot had. You know, they had big, giant splash press releases. You know, we bought 10 exahash, 20 exahash. We got options up to 50 or 100 exahash. They didn't do that, but they are executing a plan. And the question is, you know, is it going to be too little, too late? And I'm not saying I think they're going out of business. I don't think that at all. I did for the members. I put a list of, I did do a video of a list of 6 companies that I'm worried about. When I say there's going to be winners and losers, there's 6 in particular that I'm most worried about. And that doesn't even mean all 6 of those are going to go out of business. I just think, you know, they're not investment worthy at this point, in my personal opinion. And I think there'll even be a few past that struggle. Hive is in that middle group where we'll see what happens. They got a lot of work to do. They have put a strategy together to get from here to there, but it's going to require a lot of execution, and it's also going to require some healthy price action in Bitcoin. So the market, their stock, I'm gonna pull up their stock and show you guys. It has lagged. It has definitely lagged, right? If we go back to, and I don't even have a line here, but it is much further behind. You know, we just looked at a bunch of these. If we go back to December 27th, this is still down almost 50% from its December highs, and it's down about 77% from where it was in the middle of 2023. And remember, this is when Bitcoin, so this high right here for Hive, this is when Bitcoin was at $32,000. We're at Bitcoin $50,000, and Hive needs to run 76% just to get back to where it was, or put the other way, while Bitcoin is drastically up, Hive's down almost 44%. And there's a reason for that. This is one of the ones that the market is skeptical on. And this is where I said, you know, this is not just throw a dart at the board and pick your Bitcoin miner and they're all going straight to the moon. I think Hive has a potential success equation, but I would watch that video if you're truly interested.
50 grand Hive cost me.
Oh, you personally?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a rough one.
I just had to take that's the day I did that though, I put it in the CleanSpark. So thank you, Hive.
So that's a part of the thing. You know, that is a part of an investment strategy. If you feel like, and you were dead right, if you feel like there's a Bitcoin miner that's got, you know, one's going to lag and another one's going to run, you know, and I'm not saying play hot potato with these either, right? Just don't switch on a dime, but that turned out to be a very good call.
Hang on a second. Cut the tape at 1:32 and say with Tom talking about George was right. Okay, never mind.
Huh?
I'm just gonna loop that. You were right. You were right. You were right.
You were right, George.
Hey, I get so many wrong. It's so nice to be right for 3 days in a row.
You get a lot right. You get some wrong, but that's when you're day trading, that's how it works. You just gotta, you know, you gotta win more than you lose, and you gotta mitigate your losses, right? If you don't have a stop loss or an exit strategy on a day trade, then you're gonna probably end up losing a lot of money over time. I want to take a break and just say thanks to pardon my mispronunciation if I do. Thanks to Aid,
I
our
would say
latest
Abe.
our latest and greatest new member to the Talking Investing Squad.
Hello.
So thank you very much for joining. There are a bunch, if you're interested, there are a bunch of deep dive videos on Bitcoin miners. We also have, 50 or more videos past that on a lot of other companies we've looked at. The members get to pick the company that I do a deep dive on. We've fixated on Bitcoin miners lately.
Should I pick on the guy? I won't tell you who it was, but there's a guy on YouTube where he offers like a program where you buy it. It's like $5,000. And I like went through and listened to his presentations, and I started to understand what he does. I think he trades one thing. I won't tell you what it was because you know who he is. But unbelievably complicated, and what a pain in the ass it would have been. Sorry. How can you do that? I just don't understand how people can charge somebody $5,000 to buy their program.
To George's point, this is why George and I talked and made a conscious decision. We're charging people $5.
Right.
And that doesn't even cover our cost of doing what we do. So, it's not a moneymaker for us, but it does help cover our minimal costs.
He wasn't even in the United States. And then I tried to say, well, where would I? Because he had a guarantee. If you don't make your money back in a year, I'll give you your money back. And then like all these people asked for their money back, and he never gave them his money. I hate that more than anything. Don't say something and not mean it, and you know what I mean.
I would just say buyer beware. Anybody that's spending $5,000 on somebody's investment strategy program, there's thousands of YouTubers or whatever you want to call them out there, people in social media trying to hack some system. There is no system.
Sauer just wrote Tom and George. Guys, you can say George and Tom. I'm just saying. G becomes before T. Tom and George have changed my life forever. Went down $600K, almost divorced, and now 7 figures. Will forever be indebted to these guys. Buy the membership. Don't be cheap. Thank you.
Thank you, Solid Melon Gaming, true. And absolute congratulations. That is a life-changing turnaround. So I know you've shared your journey with us. Thank you for being a member, and thanks for sharing. And congratulations.
I know someone paid, and I went to try to figure. Like I went to his Patreon, and it looked like he had over 500 people. I couldn't believe it. I was in shock, and it was mainly options. And understanding options was in Nigeria. No, but you know what was interesting? Over the weekend, the president of the Nigeria bank died in California.
I thought you were going to say you got a letter from him, and if you gave your bank account and routing number, he was going to...
No, not at all. I prefer not to get close to a door. Yeah, no one does.
We've had a lot of success stories inside...
I gotta leave here soon.
Okay. We've had a lot of success stories inside of our membership and with subscribers, and this Bitcoin mining space is not easy. It's rough. So, thank you again. Special thanks to all the members for sharing the journey, because it has helped everybody.
Made it a lot more fun.
That's for sure.
And then it was funny because I had I just say I had people staying with me here recently. That's why I wasn't around last week. And the comment was, can you believe these guys make, some of these traders in stock market, they make more than I make in a year in a day. And I was like, yeah, can you believe those sons of bitches? Sorry.
Just a quick look at the... I was just pulling up a few things. The Bitcoin fees, we've had some good blocks lately. So it's not like December was. December, these fees went through the roof. There were blocks that had 2, 3, 4, 5 Bitcoin in fees, never mind the reward. But some of these are doing pretty well again. It's not, some aren't. Here's 0.18 Bitcoin, but here's 1.1 Bitcoin. So I like to keep my eye on these fees, because in the future, this will be a bigger and bigger part of the success equation for these Bitcoin miners. Kevin K, thank you for the super chat. It's good and nice of you to support George and Tom when you can, along with other people you like watching on YouTube. Support people, not big business. Good point, Kevin, and thank you for the sentiment. And thank you for being a member. It was very much appreciated.
Yeah, thank you. It makes it fun. I mean, it's so funny because somebody says, "You're doing your stream again?" I'm like, "Yeah, I love these guys." I'm gonna sneak out.
All right, well let's wrap it up. I'll just see where we're at. So we've been pretty much, we ran up to around 50,000, and you can see, we've been this afternoon, we've been struggling but hanging out around this $50,000 line. So again, to me, this is a psychological line. I don't think it's critical that we close a daily candle on this line. I think what's more important is we had a massive confirmation of a move to the upside here. We'll see how this plays out. I'll let you know. I personally think that we're going to run up, potentially anywhere, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 more. And then at some point, I will reiterate, I do think we're due or overdue for a pullback. So always be careful of both of those things. Trade accordingly. Have a plan both ways. Super special thanks to everybody for joining us on Impromptu. This is not one of our normal, but we do try to, George tries to keep me on track to get on, when exciting stuff is happening, good or bad. So congratulations to everybody. Any parting thoughts, George?
No, nothing. Just remember, new members, tomorrow 4:15 we'll be doing a members only chat, and we get a little bit deeper into trading and understanding why we think these Bitcoin mining stocks are going up, and why this is just the beginning of this run. This isn't the end by any stretch of imagination. Some might perform faster than others, and then we don't want people to get trapped in some of these companies that aren't going to make it after the halving. And there are a few out there that will trap you.
Winners and losers.
So be careful. Winners and losers.
All right,
Tom.
Thanks, George. Thank you, everybody. Have a fantastic night. Congratulations, Bitcoin 50,000. Good night, everybody.